said this one traded for my first big win. Jonathan Fink on the line tonight, with a pack in hand and a story that bites. Old paper, new spark, name on the card. From basement deals to a full-on start. Collected and connected, collected and connected, trading the truth, pass it on.
Hey, what's up? Jonathan Fink, Sports Card Collectors Club, and this is an episode of the Card Life Chronicles, and it's a special one because it's release day for 2026 Topps Pro and Basketball Update. So we'll let some people fall into the chat, and we'll let this room fill up a little bit, and then we're going to rip some cards. I'm going to get my phone set up, and I'll be back in a few minutes. You guys take care. Thanks for joining me tonight. Appreciate it. We're going to have some fun. Had a little technology problem getting started tonight. Forgive me. I'm still new at this. All right. We got a few people filling in. Let's wait a few more minutes, and we'll get launched at midnight, all right? Back soon. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you guys. Sorry about the technical difficulties getting started. Black cherry soda tonight, so cheers. All right, back soon. Midnight, get ready. All right, thanks for joining me. We got 5 people in the chat. It's a good start. I remember from the last time, it starts very slow, and as the night goes on, it kind of ramps up and up. So we got it's 11:54 here in the Midwest. So it's almost midnight here, so it's late on the East Coast, but on the Pacific Coast, it's still pretty early. So we'll let everyone file in, and then we'll explain what we're doing tonight and how this is a little extra special for me. And yeah, we're chasing Cooper Flag, and we're chasing the patch autos and all that stuff, but For me, it's actually a lot more. We'll get into that. Get ready to go soon. Midnight. All right, we got 9 people in the chat. Everyone, thanks for joining me. Thanks for your patience. Just wanted to get started with everyone was here, or at least as many people could be here as possible before we get going. And I promise we'll start at midnight. So we got 30 seconds to go. I'm just gonna get my puppy to get on his bed. Not really a puppy. He's like 11, but to me he's a puppy. His name's Buddy, by the way. And I get him all settled, and we're ready to roll. All right, let's do this. Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan Fink. I'm the author of the Sports Card Collectors Club. And the reason why I'm especially excited tonight for this rip is because I'm also the author of an upcoming book called The Basketball Gods Are Real. Now, if you're familiar with my work, you might know that I've written a bunch of different books about different topics, fiction and nonfiction. But Basketball Gods Are Real is part of my God is Real series. And of course, God, basketball God just a nickname for God. But anyway, I wrote a first draft during the pandemic, right? And it's been many years, and I've published the golf gods and hockey gods and football gods, and of course my first one was the baseball gods. And then even recently, I spent the last 2 years working on a book called The Pokemon Gods Are Real, which is the same idea. Once I kind of had the formula when I wrote volume 3 of the baseball gods, that became the format for the book series that's come after. And so they're all similar in that they have this very similar structure, because whether it's golf or Pokemon or hockey or basketball, all these kind of sports and hobbies, they're kind of like metaphors for religion. They all have saints and sinners, rituals and traditions, cathedrals, churches, pilgrimage, superstition. All these different beautiful attributes come with these activities, right? And that's why we love them so much, because is it really, in the past, my other books, when I wrote them, it was kind of formulaic, but it was like me trying to prove that baseball, or in this case, recently, Pokemon, is a religion. But with basketball, I've done it differently. So I basically, when I finished Pokemon Gods Are Real, the editing, which took me like 6 months after I wrote it, spent 6 months writing it and a year researching it, I basically got out the old manuscript of Basketball Gods Are Real. The truth is, I loved it the way it was, but I had been saving up so many different articles and stories. Like, for example, I'm sure you're familiar with the Danhausen uncurse of the New York Knicks that led to a 14-game run that led to the championship, the first in over 50 years. And so I wasn't sure, would that, should I make that the intro of the book and replace the intro? Should that just be part of the chapter on curses and just add that in? So I had to spend a couple of late nights working on that. And now I kind of have an updated manuscript, and now I'm going to spend however long it takes, basically, working it. Once you draft something, you have to really develop it even once after, way more than after the first draft. And then the editing process is a whole other thing, which is probably my least favorite part of the process. But I do love writing books. It's a hobby of mine. My day job is I'm a financial advisor, as I'm sure a lot of you know. And that's why the Sports Card Collectors Club book Volume 1 was so special, because, I was out of the hobby for 30 years. In fact, a lot of people my age, I'm 52, a lot of people who gave up the hobby for 30 years and got back into it, the trigger for them was the pandemic, right? Because they couldn't work, or they were out of work and they were bored, they were stuck at home. And so the hobby took a huge surge in popularity, prices rose. I was not part of that at all. I was knee deep writing books. In fact, during the pandemic, I wrote the Republic Baseball League series. I wrote many of my drafts for, I think, Golf Gods, Hockey Gods. Golf Gods I wrote after the pandemic, but I wrote Soccer Gods, Basketball Gods, and I just wrote the first drafts and all that stuff. And then, now I'm working it. So I'm like so focused right now on basketball. Now, I was going to put this book out at some point anyway. And it's interesting. I thought I might put out the Soccer Gods Are Real book first, because the World Cup just came and went, and we even had Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. We're even a host. And I thought for sure I would get to go to a game. But the tickets were so expensive, over $1,000 for the worst seat. And I tried to do my little spiritual experiment like I did in Baseball Gods Are Real Volume 1, when I would go on to StubHub and try to get a ticket at the last minute. Because prices start to drop when a scalper realizes he might not sell a ticket. He'd rather just sell for anything than nothing. So anyway, it didn't really work. And then actually, when there was the second round games, when Messi in Argentina played here again, I was already out of town. The reason why is because Paulie from the Collecting and Connecting Podcast Network and the What Do You Collect podcast invited me to come to Summer League for an NBA Top Shot community event. And he had a whole, he had a live panel discussion, and he did a bunch of one-on-one interviews the next day at the next Top Shot event, and it was so much fun. And just being around all that basketball, all those passionate fans, going to the games. I spent an entire day at the Summer League going back and forth between Cox Pavilion and the UNLV main arena. It's all connected. It's amazing. And I just was like, yeah, all right, the next project, as soon as I finish Pokemon, I'm writing the basketball gods are real. And so when I write, I kind of have to like I gotta get into the vibe. And so when I was writing hockey gods late at night, I was wearing my hockey jerseys all the time. And if you know me, well, personally, I collect lots of things, not just sports cards and banners, right? I collect jerseys. In fact, I have a huge collection of baseball jerseys. And during my son Nate's baseball career, I was actually very superstitious, and I would wear baseball jerseys to all of his games. And if like he was on a hot streak, playing really well, I would wear the same jersey until the energy changed. And look, when you read my books about superstition, we know that superstition has no control over the outcomes. The reason why people are superstitious is because it helps us calm ourselves, with circumstances that are beyond our control, right? So that's kind of why we do them, and I would do that in kinds of ways. I would sit in the same spot if he's playing well, or he made an error, I'd move. It's just one of those things, right? It's just how I dealt with being my son's biggest fan, during his road to the show. So anyway, so now I'm into basketball. By the way, I also have a huge collection of, or not huge, but a good sized collection of soccer jerseys. But I had not owned any basketball jerseys. Out of all the sports, I was the worst at basketball. I'm short. I'm like 5'5" on a good day. I'm probably 5'4" most days. And I remember I tried out for and I played on the school, the driveway, and my friends growing up. But then once everyone gets to middle school, everyone starts getting bigger, and I stayed the same size. And I remember trying out in 8th grade for middle school basketball, and I got cut. It was not meant to be, but I was good at other things, so it was no big deal, especially soccer and tennis and whatever. But so I've always loved basketball, but never got to really play it as much. It was more like just driveway stuff and summer camp and whatever. But actually, the first fantasy league I ever played in was in high school when I was in a fantasy basketball league, NBA, and we literally, everyone had to score the games themselves because we didn't have a computer. You didn't have computers back then. You couldn't share stuff over the internet. You didn't have ESPN or CBS CBS Sports to do the standings and all that stuff. And so because you each had to confirm what your other opponents scored, said their score is, you had to do everyone's scores. And so it was actually kind of an exercise in math, believe it or not, especially for a kid who wasn't even really good at math. But I loved basketball, as a fan. And so that was just a big part of my childhood, was loving, I guess the junk wax era of basketball, where I kind of grew up and cut my teeth on basketball. So I've always been a fan. And then of course I went to Tulane University when Tulane had a moment in time. We were really, really good. We were a top 25 team. We had to sleep out for tickets, and those 4 years were epic. Being a small school that finally makes to the top 25, that whole run was amazing. And then it kind of happened again, with my son. He's now at of all places, University of Kansas. Going to watch games at the epic, Fog Allen Fieldhouse, which is literally the birthplace of basketball. So I was destined to write this book. Once I realized I was going to kind of get away, get beyond the baseball series and write other stuff, I knew I was going to eventually, hopefully, touch all the different sports. And I had to have some knowledge of them. But with basketball, it's more as a fan. And this was a lot of research. But this book is very different. I'll tell you why. It's a subtle but important difference. In all my other books, for the God's Real series, it's me trying to convince you that not only are the baseball gods real, right? The metaphor, the baseball gods, or basketball gods, football gods, whatever, but also that the fandom of that sport is a religion, right? And I try to draw those similarities throughout the books. In this one, I will have a subtitle called "The Religion of Basketball" because that's been the theme throughout all these books. But it's really different, and this one's going to be more about why is it that basketball fans reference the basketball gods, and why do people love professional sports so much, right? And so it's sort of like a different approach. It's more asking questions, and having the reader ponder. And really, I guess what I get to in the end is it's about community and connection. When we have fandom for these sports teams, you could be backpacking through Europe, and if you see someone with a Knicks hat and you're a Knicks fan, you immediately have some kind of connection, but you don't even know them yet. Your fandom brings you together, and so that there's something about sports that's very powerful. The same way that I guess when two Jews are walking somewhere and they're both each other wearing yarmulkes, they can kind of acknowledge each other, like they have a kindred spirit, they have a certain connection. So sports can do that for us, and that's why really sports have become indispensable. Now look, there's lots of other reasons why we love sports as well. But that's a big part of it. Now look, so with today, look, I've been watching videos all day on TikTok and on YouTube. Everyone's been ripping this product, trying to chase these rookie patches, and no doubt about it, it is, we know that the Otani double auto patch just sold for $10 million with a bounty, and even the Dallas Mavericks tonight put a bounty on the Cooper Flag rookie. This rookie class is one of the better classes. Of course, the Dylan Harper has already got $1 million bounty on his patch. Paul Skeens had $1 million patch during the first ever rookie patch autos with baseball Topps Update 2 years ago. People are saying the Cooper Flag patch will break that record. We'll have to wait and see. But that's not why I have all this stuff, and we'll get into how I even acquired all this stuff because we're in a new phase of this hobby and the sports card market, and what I had to go through today to acquire all these boxes is an example of what's going on right now, and we definitely want to talk about that. But for me, it's more about just like consuming basketball everywhere I go, right? Like, every chance I get, I'm putting on the NBA TV channel now, and I'm wearing jerseys, all the time, and by the way, my collection's coming along very, very fast. This, of course, is the most important one, which is the Kansas City Kings, and I want to get into that at some point. We probably should open up some packs first, so we will. In fact, you know what? Let's do that. Let's open up one box first, and then we'll talk about the Kansas City Kings, and we'll talk about my collection of basketball jerseys, which is filling up my closet very fast. All right, so far we're at 13 people in the chat. Thank you so much, guys. I did a 3-hour rip session for V-Friends, which is a pretty obscure product, and of course I have a big sports card following. But you know what? It started with 13 people, and after an hour it was at 50, and then it was 100, and next thing I know, there was, after 3 hours, we had 864 people joining me to watch this stuff. So I do know that, given either people are asleep, and they're done for the night. But if you've watched all your shows and all the sporting events are done, and you've watched everyone rip stuff like this all day, but you want to watch more, you'll probably watch me because it's late at night and everyone else is probably done ripping all day, and I'm just getting started. So thanks for joining me tonight. I'm really excited to rip this stuff. But for me, again, it's not about the pulls. I am prepared with the magnetics for anything good that we get, and I will set up a gallery of all the best hits. But for me, it's just celebrating the sport of basketball. As you'll see in the Card Life Chronicles Volume 3 of my sports card series, I document all the rips that I do and why I do them and all that stuff. And I eventually go in that book very deep into basketball because at this time in my life, I'm working on the basketball gods are real. And I'm just getting started. I've bought a bunch of boxes to rip, knowing that I was going to be finishing Pokemon Gods and then getting to this. And so yes. Oh, by the way, so as far as jerseys go, this was eBay, and it was a kid's extra large because I'm a dad. I'm 5'4", but I'm a little dude. So, and these are this team has not been around for 30 years. You can't find these jerseys anywhere. This actually turns out had a full label on it, and it came from the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's a Mike Bibby, legit Kansas City Kings jersey. Of course, Kansas City Kings moved to Sacramento many, many moons ago, long before I moved here. So I've never lived here when we've had an NBA team. It's a travesty that a great city like Kansas City no longer has an NBA team. I don't know the circumstances of why the team left. I guess that they didn't draw enough, and which is shocking because, we love KU basketball here so much, but maybe, there wasn't room for both. But now that I think there definitely could be a team here. Although potentially, I think a WNBA team might get here first, and we'll have to wait and see. But I actually love the Kansas City Kings, and I'm doing this. Now that I'm slowing down my book releases to every 6 months instead of like whenever I can get them done, I'm going to slow down, doing more like social media stuff, kind of getting out there. I got my sports card Collectors Cup podcast on Tuesday nights every other week. I also have the Rip Sessions, which is kind of like a round table, sitting at a local card shop, ripping packs with friends. That's also on Tuesday nights, but a little bit later, and alternative nights. And I'm also now a recurring guest on a Sunday night show called The High Hard One, which is on the Buzzer Network and on collecting and connecting in a bunch of places. And then I'm going to be on a supporting guest, recurring guest, I guess, if you will, on a new podcast for Pokemon, which Paulie from the Collecting and Connecting Podcast Network has launched as well. And that's obviously perfect because I've been so immersed in Pokemon the last couple of years. Now, I'm not a Pokemon expert. I'm actually super late to the Pokemon game. I document that in my next book, Sports Card Collectors Club Volume 2, The Flip Life, which comes out on December 1st. So I was super late to non-sports cards, and I got into Pokemon only because of Gary Vee, who then turned me on to V-Friends. And I love V-Friends. And like I said, I just did a 3-hour epic rip of V-Friends, and it was just so much fun. Out of all the products, I feel like V-Friends really does make the world a better place. So I really want to champion it and make it as popular as possible. All right, here we go. This is the first pack. So may the basketball gods and the sports card gods be with us. Let's have some fun. Any comments you want to leave in the chat, please do. Any questions for me, definitely drop them in. Any topic, you name it. So Chris Paul will be the first player. Yeah, he's awesome. He's played for a lot of teams. There's Sion James with the rookie card. It's weird to see the alternative yellow Charlotte jersey. We got Porzingis with the Hawks, but that guy's been on a bunch of teams. I don't even know what team he's starting with. There's been so many, free agent signings and trades this offseason. I think this year for the NBA will be one of the most exciting seasons we've had. And even though the Knicks are the team to beat, they're the recurring champions, we know that the Spurs will be just as good. We know OKC will be just as good. Now we got Philly as a super team with starting five. We'll see how deep their bench is, but they're going to be really good. There's going to be a lot of really good teams. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great year for the NBA. So check this. This is just a cool photography alert. One thing that's cool about Update is they're not just updating the players and the rosters and the new teams that they're on. They also use as an opportunity to update their images. And this is a cool photo, and I love this one. We'd prefer to see the crowd in the background, but that's obviously an authentic photo that's kind of maybe just been photoshopped. But yeah, Stephen Castle, he had a really good season. All right, pack number 2 from this first blaster. So yeah, so if you're like me, you've probably been watching pack openings all day. It is kind of fascinating. It's kind of like voyeurism, but we all cannot spend an infinite amount of money opening packs, and so you're curious to see what other people are getting and what some of the cards look like, especially because there's a lot of inserts that you don't get to see if you're only opening like 1 or 2 blaster boxes. So I was trying to explain to my wife that there's a whole culture of people who watch other people rip packs who are not financially invested. A lot of people you watch like Run to the Good Life, or Jab's Family. Those people are watching because they've bought into the break, right? So they're financially invested. That's why they're watching. But someone like me, it's just because hopefully I'm entertaining and I'm fun to hang out with, and it's just an excuse to kind of rip cards, and I do it online and share it with the community because it's fun to do. Here's Nikola Vucevic. Here's Hugo Gonzalez, Javon Small, and Noah Penda. So that would be a bus pack or 2 for 2. Look, you have to assume that when you're not doing this for financial gain. This is not an investment thing. I think buying singles and investing in them and believing in a player and hoping their value goes up. That I get that absolutely. It's a big part of the hobby. People who are ripping packs to hope that they pull the Cooper flag, that is just straight up degen gambling. And by the way, nothing wrong with it. You can spend your money however you want. It's a free world. I do it because I love the sport. I just love the energy, and I also want to learn. I want to get familiar with all the players and learn basketball as a fan now just as much as I know about every baseball player. I want to become really knowledgeable, especially as I want to be more and more involved with the basketball release. I want to be able to talk the talk. LaMelo Ball, he's on our new team this year. They must have done the photo shoot for this set when they were wearing these alternative jerseys because it's the second Hornet in a row, different player wearing that same yellow jersey. I do think it's cool that they include the legends. Rick Barry, underhand free throw, just a great team player, tremendous passer. I I don't remember seeing Wemby play this year in that jersey. I just admire jerseys, by the way. I'm a big jersey fan. Um, Look, Wemby is not a rookie anymore, but he is kind of the face of the league. Um, I don't know if I feature him. By the way, there's a chapter about Wemby in Sports Card Volume One, FYI. So I'm a big fan of Wemby. His career was on the line. He had thrombosis in his blood. His career was in jeopardy. His cards were tanking, and thankfully he was healthy, and he went on to make it to the NBA championship and was just a couple games away from winning it. I think his future is very, very bright, and I love him because of who he is off the field. I mean, this is the guy who's playing chess in Central Park with 15-year-old kids. He's the one who spent months in, I think, China, Nepal, somewhere like that, where he lived with Buddhist monks and learned to meditate and mastered, Zen and consciousness and spirituality. I mean, Wemby's awesome. I'm a big fan of Wemby, and if anyone should be the face of the league, it might be him. Although he did get a little pouty during a couple of those losses with the Knicks, if I recall. So, who can blame him? It's his first time at the big dance of the finals. But anyway, I'm guessing this card goes for $5-10. So I can't say this is a bust pack. I'd have to say this pack is a win. And then Michael Porter Jr. All right, 3 packs in. I think the Wemby. I guess the Wemby deserves to go in the glass, right? Do you guys agree that the Wemby wave is good enough for the glass? Let me know. I think it is. 3 packs in. Yeah, I think, you know what? Just for sentimental value, given that I feature Wemby, I even keep his rookie card with all the cards that I featured in my first book, Volume 1. That's kind of one of my many little PCs. And I write about all my different little PCs, or a lot of them at least, in Sports Card Volume 3, which will come out, I don't know, probably in a couple of years. I guess I can take off this stuff now, right? So let's talk about all these boxes and where I got them and how I got them. And if you've noticed, some of them are still sealed, right? And some of them are not sealed. In fact, this one that's not sealed, you can see, look very carefully, you can see it's got an X on it. See that? In the packaging, right? So I'll explain why. It's very interesting. Let's get into that right now. And this is actually the kind of thing where when I write my books, I do kind of rip packs and write about the experience the same way that when you guys watch videos of people ripping wax, I just do it in a literal, literary sense, literally. But it gives me an opportunity as a platform to then write about the players and weave in history and take the experience to the next level beyond just the cards themselves, right? Every card has a story to tell. So when I write a chapter about this product, one of the stories will be this. Now look, this phenomena, I'm sure happened in the past, maybe probably in 89 when Griffey was a rookie, right? Whatever. And I'm sure there's maybe and then it happened again during the pandemic, of course. But the sports card hobby and market is no different than all the other markets. And there's bull markets and bear markets and sideways markets, and nothing goes down forever. Nothing goes up forever. And if you follow my Twitter account, I've been posting card ladder updates of like all these cards of mostly the GOATs, but even not the GOATs. It was, I posted a Ted Williams card the other day. The prices of these cards have just gone parabolic. In fact, I just heard on an interview the other day that Professor Sports Cards, shout out to Professor Sports Cards, he's going to be on my show in a couple of weeks. He's done a great job with his live podcast, Tuesday and Wednesday nights. Go check him out. But they were talking about, hold on. You know what? Forget that. Let's get back to. I can go on tangents. Let's get back to these boxes and where I got them, and how I got them in, and what condition I got them in. So yeah. So this hobby has gotten so popular and there's so much money to be made, and so many products, including these Pokemon releases like Ascended Heroes, where people were sleeping out at Targets and Walmarts at 3 in the morning. One guy snuck into a Best Buy and had to be removed with a SWAT team because he was hoping to get in line first to get Pokemon. And the reason why is because these Pokemon ETBs that you can buy retail at, $55, $60 plus tax, they're going the day of the release. They're going for over 100 on eBay and much more over time. So scalpers have gotten so annoying and it's become so problematic for the shops, for the stores like Walmart, Target, Dick's Sporting Goods, whatever, that at first they started to implement 2-item limits. And I actually covered that in my volume 2 book because I experienced it happening. And first it happened at certain Targets and it was kind of arbitrary. It wasn't really enforced. And then it's become a national policy because the problem kept getting, exacerbated primarily from Pokemon. But this product is a good example because this morning, when I got to Dick's Sporting Goods at 9:15, the store opened at 9, there were tons of parents that were grabbing the hobby boxes and dropping down $1,000, buying $2,000. And even these, they're $45, and you're getting like 28 cards. Do the math per card. It's getting very expensive. You can't really call these value boxes. Go back to calling these blasters because it's not value. However, in the minds of the production company like Fanatics, they think it is value. Why? Because this time around they forced all these stores that they had to sell the blaster at MSRP. But the hobby box they can price it however they want, and the mega box too. And today at Dick's Sporting Goods, they were charging the 45 MSRP for this, and they were charging MSRP for the mega, which was 85, which is outrageous. A mega used to cost like $50, 60 tops, now it's like, 80. It's wild. But the upside is that if you're really into this for investment purposes or for gambling purposes, to chase there must be like 50 rookie patches, but the ability to pull a Cooper Flag and pull $1 million card, it really is life changing. And it just happened to some kid in Boca Raton, Florida, who pulled the Otani, and he immediately sold it to the person who had a bounty on it for $10 million. Shine, who I believe is partners with Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary, who, by the way, want to get a portfolio of sports cards together and create an ETF and let it trade on the stock market. The point is, the stock market and the Pokemon market prices have been at all-time highs, but Pokemon prices have started to really come down sharply. And some are saying it's because of the 30th anniversary coming out, but I think it's because of what's happening to Bitcoin, what's happening to silver and gold, what's now starting to happen with the NASDAQ, what's happening with the bond market. They're all rolling over. And so we're supposed to believe that even though, yes, these asset classes are all non-correlated, the tide pulls out, all the boats will sink. The tide rises, all the boats will rise. So and by the way, if you watch the interviews from this year's National, Gary Vee was talking with Logan Paul, and Gary Vee was warning about a market crashing from here. And at top, he says, sell a couple cards you're willing to part with. Michael Rubin got interviewed on Sports Card Nonsense. He was warning them about a market top, and it's not that it's the end of the hobby or the end of making money in cards, but it's going to be a correction. It could be the end of this particular bull market. And by the way, it'll be a blessing because it's going to scare away the scalpers, because the point is, Fanatics is trying to address the scalping problem and get these products in the hands of collectors, not people just going to buy them and flip them on the secondary market. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why prices keep rising. Well, anyway, the point is, when I went to the baseball card store in Overland Park, they had a limit of one blaster sealed, and then every one thereafter had to be opened at the store, like this one, which is why I had the X. But they would let you buy as many as you wanted, as long as you had them opened. But the mega box, which goes for 85 MSRP, they were charging 120, I believe. At the Art of Sports, actually my local card shop, my closest place, they had a two limit. They were charging 175 for the mega box, 45 for the blaster, but the 2 limit, and you couldn't even use trade-in value for some reason. I'm not sure why. That was the reason. So I bought 2 from them, but they were sealed. I started my day at Dick's Sporting Goods, and they used to have a much wider allotment. They had in the last month or two, they have had a limit, but it's been like 6 blasters for like Topps Chrome Platinum, for example. When that came out, it was like 6. Here today, it was 2 and 2. 2 mega, 2 blaster, and I wasn't going to even go near those high boxes for 1,000. That's just ridiculous, I think. So yeah. Anyway, so yes, I bought two each, and they were all sealed, which is I think interesting. And then I drove to my third place. It's wow, we have three awesome shops. I went to the unopened Pac-Man store in Olathe, and they had a one per limit. Now they were charging $150 for the mega box, and you only could buy one at a time, and they had to open it there. And they were charging MSRP $45 for the blaster, but only one per day, and they cut it open. So that's what I have today. That's all the different boxes that I had. And look, I'm a financial advisor. I work from home. I can afford to get my car and go drive out in the morning on my way to the gym, and then go pop out for my lunch hour and go swing by a couple stores, and I'm able to get boxes. But the truth is, the people who have the 9 to 5 job, even though I'm not a big fan of the limiting all that stuff, they have to do it because of the demand right now. But I do think it is kind of cool that some guy or kid who came home from summer school will be able to go to Dick's Sporting Goods and there'll be boxes there because they limited it. I don't know how they can really enforce it. I don't know if they can really enforce it. Like your credit card might work twice. I don't know if the credit card would stop you. But if people are honoring the golden rule, whatever, then even though it's kind of like a little communist, and like with price controls and supply controls, and doesn't really resemble free market capitalism. The demand for these products is so insane right now. It's just not. It is maybe it isn't. It's not fair, especially to the little kids, man. It's not fair to the little kids. So they're calling these blasters value now because what they're saying is they're going to force Target and Dick's and the local card shop. It's got to be MSRP. And so I guess compared to a $400 high box, which is now $500, which is now going for over $1,000. I guess compared to that, this is considered value. But let's be honest, it's not value. I mean, these used to be going for 25 or 30, and then 35. Now they're 45, and there's been shrinkflation, less per product. So But look, I understand the corporation's desire to raise the price and to put less product, and they'll continue to do that as long as they can get away with it. That's how supply and demand works. Believe me, if people stop buying these products, prices will come down, and they'll have to make their products better, and that might include probably even adding packs and cards back into these products. So the pendulum will swing. It's just economics is how it should work, actually. All right, enough ranting. Let's get back to the cards. Drew Holiday, Carter Bryant, Rudy Gobert, and Joan Behringer. Busts. I mean, even though this is more like for fun, entertainment, and it's all about collecting, and it should not be about gambling. I can't help but use gambling terms like bust because there is a gambling component. Let's be honest. When you're ripping cards, and anytime you don't know what's next, just like rolling the roulette wheel or poker table, blackjack, so it can become gambling, but it's not truly gambling. But it has a gambling component, and that I totally agree with. And by the way, nothing wrong with that. Gambling's been going on with humanity since like the dawn of time. The problem is people should be consenting adults, and the hobby is filled with kids. And these kids are going to these events like Fanatics and the National, and they're constantly spinning a wheel. They're getting free digital packs, and the fear is that this is going to be a Trojan horse. It's going to be their gateway drug into a life of always chasing the big hit, and then it can become gambling for people, and gambling can definitely become addictive. And we know from statistics that the reason why the casinos in Las Vegas are so big and beautiful is because most gamblers lose, right? So you rip cards because you love it, and it's entertaining, but don't be naive. If you're doing it for investment purposes, you're making a mistake because it's not a good investment. You're way better off buying silver and gold coins and stuff like that. There's way better ways to make money. Now, that being said, sealed product, if you know what you're doing, you know which products to buy, you can make a lot of money in sealed. In fact, I've made a lot of money in Pokemon sealed unintentionally. I started just collecting the ETBs because they're awesome, they're beautiful, and I was writing the book. And I would be able to buy them at MSRP because I can, like I said, go to the stores during the day, no problem. And they just kept going up and up in price. And then when I had to start financing all my purchases for the Card Life Volume 3 book, and I saw how parabolic all these prices were, I'm like, this cannot last for so many different reasons. And so I just decided, you know what? It's time to take profits. And I'll start buying them back. In fact, like Destined Rivals, that's very special to me because the first ETB I ever bought and opened was Destined Rivals. And that became so popular that chart just went berserk. And what's cool about the economy in Pokemon is it's so reactive and authentic because right now they're doing restocks, and so they're new, not new, but more additional boxes and different variations of product of that series. Destinado is now coming out, so of course supply is increasing. That's what happens. Price is going down as it should. So for someone who loves like me, who loves economics, I actually find that the sports card market is fascinating. Even though I don't invest, I just collect and I flip anything I buy here that I don't want to give away at a trade show or I'm not going to keep. I'm going to just put on eBay and I basically read about this in volume 2 of my sports card book. I found out how a great way to market my books, especially sports card. My sports card book is to insert sell cards on eBay even for $1, doesn't matter. And in the envelope, as part of the packaging, frankly, put advertisements for my book. So if I'm selling a golf card, I put an advertisement for my golf gods book. If when my basketball book comes out and I'm flipping this card, I'll advertise my basketball. So it was a very clever way to find my target market. That's kind of like what you learn about in business school, which I do have a master's in business. So I think about those things kind of inherently because I've been trained that way. And so it's just that kind of was one of the storylines that kind of weaved through the Flip Life Volume 2. Now, I think this is called the Speckle. My guess is this is still only a $2 or $3 card, and it's not even it's like a Photoshop card. It's not even like live action. But Jason Tatum's a big name, and he's a heck of a player, and he's finally healthy after tearing his ACL against the New York Knicks in the playoffs last year, or two years ago rather. Yeah, 2 years ago, and his friend Van Leet. So nothing special there, but still early days. So the chat's been quiet so far, but we got about 14 people so far with us. Thank you so much, each and every one of you. I appreciate it. You can spend your time watching anybody whip packs, and you're with me, and I'm grateful. So thank you very much. Here's Giannis. It's always weird, like it's the update, but he's now on the Miami Heat, obviously. But if LeBron had gone to Miami, that would have been a little more interesting for Miami. I'm not sure if Miami's got what it takes, especially they had to give up Tyler Hero to get Giannis. But Giannis is a superstar. In fact, I remember Gary Vee when I wrote Sports Card Volume 1. I saw the video on YouTube of him on the Rich Eisen show, and he was talking about how he bought like 150 Giannis's for like I don't know, like $50 or $80 or something like that, and then he was selling them for like 400, and I was like, damn. Speaking of Gary Vee, I saw an interview at the National where he said he already bought. So he tells you after. He's smart, He bought like 50 Jackie Robinson Leaf rookie cards, which is pretty sweet. So here's Chris Middleton with the red, white, and blue. Out of all the inserts so far from the community, these seem to be the most popular. So he may not be the biggest name, but it is a beautiful looking card. And given the 250th anniversary of America, that's awesome. Okay, hold on. Red alert. Is that? Oh no, I thought we only had 3 in a pack, but this is the 4th. So Center Carib rookie card. This guy's awesome. He was one of the 2 basketball players that went to the NBA Top Shot events. I wasn't at the one he was at. He was at the VIP event. I got to meet Jake LaRavia at the event that I was at, and he was super gracious, super awesome. He's a real collector. He had his own NBA Top Shot account. He's collecting his own video, memories and videos. Just super cool. I love it when I see these athletes that are true collectors. It's cool. It's definitely helping to grow the hobby for sure. I'm sure they always were. Like guys like Matt Strom has always been collecting, right? But now the media apparatus is telling those stories and focusing on the fact that Bobby Witt collects and Cags collects and stuff like that. By the way, I cannot believe that Matt Strom got cut by the Kansas City Royals. It's shocking. He has not been a great reliever this year, but he is a super veteran, and I think he'll sign with maybe the Diamondbacks and Yankees, and hopefully he'll have a week or 2 to give his arm a rest, his knee a rest. He's been injured this year, and he can make a big impact for a playoff team, which would be awesome for him. He's awesome. When I got to meet him when I recorded my episode for the Card Life, it was down in Chanute, Kansas, and he did one of his rip opening sessions before I did my interview. And I got to meet him. He signed all my cards that I PC of him. and he was super gracious and super awesome. And I met his brother. I gave them all signed books and the whole thing, and it was great. And yes, I'm a big fan of Matt, and I really wish him the best. And I'm really bummed out that the Royals let him go. But maybe it was for the best, because the Royals have been terrible this year, and lost tonight to the Minnesota Twins and totally choked in another reliever choking and blowing the game. And here's another red, white, and blue. And so, so the Royals weren't going anywhere this year, so his arm would have been wasted pitching for us the rest of the season. And now he's got a chance. Can you imagine he goes to the Yankees and he becomes a late inning, lefty pitcher that they need in critical situations? He might wind up winning a World Series. So we'll see. So I'm rooting for him to get picked up. Okay, so let's now open one of the ones that. Now, by the way, check this out. When I got invited to the NBA Top Shot event at the Summer League, I got put on a panel. First of all, with Matt Vinyls, who was my guest on my flagship podcast this past Tuesday, and he was awesome. We spoke for 90 minutes. We had such a good time. Go check that out. It's on the Collecting and Connecting Podcast Network on YouTube, and also on my channel, Sports Card Collectors Club. Click under the live section. You can find it there. Great time. He is amazing. And we were on the same panel, and one of the questions Paulie asked me was about this new policy of unwrapping the boxes. And I said, you know what? I think it's a noble effort, because it shows that Topps is listening to the cries of the people, and the people are concerned about scalping, and they're experimenting. They don't know what's going to work. They said that they're just going to try it out. But at least they're trying something. And, and by the way, I think that it's hard to do it manually when they, but the truth is, here's the problem. When they open a box in front of you, you know for sure. I mean, unfortunately, the integrity and character of everyone and all these employees at all these different companies, not necessarily at Topps and the manufacturers level, but like all the employees in the warehouse at Target and Best Buy and yada, yada, yada. Are they going to not get their little sticky fingers in those boxes that are now unwrapped? And sure enough, I did a retweet today. Someone was first in line. I forget where he bought it. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to get that company in trouble. But he bought 2 mega boxes that he bought unwrapped for his protection, to make sure that those didn't go to scalpers, and they were packs missing. So this could become a real problem when he goes back to the store and says, "Hey, I didn't get what I paid for," and then, so the seal stuff might be a problem. The truth is, if the market just has a huge correction, and the scalping kind of goes away, this might not be a problem anymore. But for now, when the market is so frothy, I think it's admirable that they're trying to deal with the problem. But my comment was that I think there's risk, because the system has vulnerability, like the fact that they're literally open boxes and people could take stuff out. And no offense, but people do bad things. So that is now happening. The 2 times that I bought boxes that came unsealed, they were opened in front of me. So obviously that's a great way to do it. But the bigger stores, I don't know, can they facilitate that? They have enough employees and the manpower to do all that? I don't know. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna keep this to go put on my keep one of these to go on my big tower, my Jenga tower. There's a chapter about that in I guess it's in volume 2. All right. Again, thanks everyone for joining me tonight. Totally gesture maxing, showing off my new Kansas City Kings jersey. Just having fun with all this stuff. The truth is, when I stay up late at night and I'm editing, I literally do put on like baseball or hockey jerseys, because it's just like good vibes, channel the energy. I'm into that stuff. It seems to help. I guess if you believe it does, then it does, right? Bill Russell. I mean, how many world championships did he win? I mean, his card market is probably very, very undervalued compared to a lot of his other GOATs, like Jordan and Kobe. This guy could be a buy. Bill Russell, Rudy Gobert. Here's our 3rd red, white, and blue. And Jalen Johnson. I mean, that red, white, and blue, the player I wasn't familiar with. Cheers. Not an endorsement, but it's black cherry soda. Frankly, the sugar helps keep me going. I used to be a caffeine junkie. So many of my books I have written, super flighty on caffeine, drinking coffee all night long, so many nights I've written until the light, the sunrise and the light comes up. Because when you're in the flow, you're in the flow, and you don't want to stop writing when you're feeling it. In fact, for me, it's almost like it's channeling through me, and I learned how to type in high school. It's a typing class, so I can type pretty fluently without even looking. But my eyes are open. I'm looking at the screen, I guess, but I'm just like the ideas are just coming out of me. And I can go on a run where like 3 or 4 hours will go by, and I don't even know where time went. And then I look at all the stuff I wrote, and a lot of it comes across as gibberish, but a quick spell check and a grammar check, and it cleans it up, and you're like, wow, that's pretty good. I like that. I'm gonna keep it. It's wild. Here's Ace Bailey, not one of the top rookies from last year, but he's definitely probably in the top 5, I would think. But not the kind of thing where like if you pull his patch auto, it's probably not gonna be life changing. That's probably only the Dylan Harper and Cooper flag. There's Brandon Ingram, Donovan Mitchell. That's a cool photography alert. I mean, and there's Magic Johnson. So yeah, so I'm doing this. This is a good time to mention it, I guess. One of the reasons I love this Kansas City Kings jersey is because I love teams that are not around anymore. A lot of the cards that I collect are card of teams like the Washington Senators and stuff like that. Seattle, St. Louis Browns. And Kansas City Kings aren't around anymore, and there's a bunch of NBA teams that aren't around anymore. And in the Republic Baseball League, my book series, the old teams that are old and defunct and bankrupt, they all come back. They reincarnate, basically. So I got that. I borrowed that idea from this Lost Franchises idea, where I'm playing a simulation, a franchise dynasty on NBA 2K. I used to love video games. I literally was playing video games since like Atari Pong. Never gave up on it all the way through. Oh, sorry, my bad. Too much talking with my hands. Oh, this is like low tech Jonathan Fink technology going on here, guys. Hold on. So yeah. Anyway, now I lost my train of thought. Back to the cards. Oh yeah, Lost Franchises. So there's a bunch of cities that used to have teams in the ABA or the NBA. The Buffalo Braves, Washington, the Baltimore Bullets, the New Jersey Americans, the Syracuse Nationals. And so the point is, I used to love video games. The last 10 years, I've been so obsessed writing books. I've published 15 books in 10 years. So it's like nonstop obsessive-compulsive disorder, just like constantly doing it day and night, And I need to slow down. I want to slow down. I'm like cannibalizing my own sales by putting out so many books at once. And so I promised my wife and myself I'm going to slow down 2 books a year. So that also frees up the time that I can do more social media stuff like this, not feel this pressure to like keep putting books out as kind of this need to be prolific for some reason where it's like enough is enough. Like I've thought it's good. Slow down. It's fine. But I also need to find creative ways to kind of market and sell my books now. I've been spending 10 years writing them. Now it's time to kind of there's a great photography alert for Josh Hart, world champion Josh Hart. And one of the clever ways is following your passions, doing what you love. So I do love playing video games, and it's a great way to take a break from editing when you're playing video games. It's kind of like meditation, actually, because you're not thinking about your troubles. You're thinking about the lineup or the player you're going to call or whatever. So video games are great to kind of clear your mind and it's sort of like alternative meditation. And so I've been playing a bunch of these different series that are based on my books. And with NBA basketball, I'm starting in the Magic Bird era, which is of course why I brought that up. So I'm starting in 1983, and I'm going to play with the Kansas City Kings, which is my team. In 1984, the first year that the game will allow you to have expansion teams, the 6 teams that I've mentioned are going to join the league, and that's the year that Jordan gets drafted, of course. So we'll see which team Jordan plays on. And I'm just going to play the seasons and post the updates, all over Twitter and social media. But the key thing is, I'm going to build. It's related to sports cards because it's really more inspired by the Republic Baseball League, but it's inspired by my sports card collectors club because it's all about collecting, and there's all different ways to collect. And so many kids now these days are being conditioned to collect by building a portfolio of cards that are just your investment portfolio that you're they're collecting them until it's time to sell them or whatever. And what I'm doing is collecting cards that are just meaningful to me because of this series. So like this one, for example, I just opened from a pack, and even though Spud Webb is not on my team, the Kansas City Kings in the simulation, it's a Kansas City Kings card, which is awesome because they're not around anymore. And so this will count. Whenever I pull anything related to the Kansas City Kings, it'll go into my PC. So this is one that I've added so far, and pretty much like I'll post a card after every game. But I only had so many in my house, and I've only had one show up in the mail so far, and I have more coming. But the goal is that like I'll eventually have a ton because a lot of these cards cost me like $1, and I get just as much joy over a Spud Webb Kansas City Kings as a patch auto of whoever. And so yeah, and it's fun because even though I'm on eBay and I'm looking for a card of, by the way, here's my starting lineup. I got Wayne the Tree Rollins at center. I got Bill, rest in peace, Walton at power forward. I got 3-point master Dale Ellis at my small forward. I got John Sunvold, another 3-point master at shooting guard. And I have Dominique Wilkins channeling his inner Magic Johnson playing point guard. Everyone knows that he was a small forward playing for the Hawks in the 80s. Very offensive-minded player, played very little defense. But you put him at point guard, against everyone else except Magic, he towers over that team's that point guard. So he is advantageous defensively, and he can post up on that guy, and he can do pick and rolls, and he can dish, and he's leading the league now in assists, and he's my favorite player growing up. So I, of course, thought Dominique Wilkins has been amazing. And then I also have like Craig Hodges on the bench, and then a couple other guys that are not household names that I've been playing a role in. I've been trying to buy their cards too. So yeah, so like when I want to curate this PC and I want to find a Craig Hodges card, there's a few cards that might be worth $1, plus $1 shipping, and so it's just like which one do I want to choose? It's been a lot of fun, just finding excuses to collect cards and build sets, and build collections. So anyway, here's my my Kansas City Kings Flair 93-92. Well, actually, look at this. Nope. Oh no, this is Flair 91-92. This is Flair 92-93. Oh, this is a Wayne Tinsdale card with a Kings with the with Topps logo. Got this. This one also I pulled from a pack. I get a lot of my junk wax 80s basketball from the unopened Pac-Man store in Olathe. They won't let you buy the hobby boxes, but they'll buy the high box themselves, and then they'll sell off the packs for jacked up prices. But I don't mind because it's not that expensive, and some of them are, but not ones I buy. But it's fun because I love this era of the NBA. This is when I was playing fantasy basketball, and I was so into it for those 4 years. Here's an 89 NBA All-Star Game, Dominique Wilkins from Houston, NBA Hoops. There's a hobby box on eBay of the second Dream Team. It's like on sale. It's like on sale for like $74, and it doesn't have MJ and Michael Jordan, but it does have some big names like Shaquille O'Neal, and it's got Dominique Wilkins. So I'm thinking about, it's kind of interesting because like you get an entire high box for $75, but you get a mega box of this stuff costs $85. So like, what's a better deal? Think about that. I guess it depends on why you rip cards, but actually, look, I'm doing this on YouTube. I'm writing a book about this session, and it's a business expense. All the cards I buy are through my Polo Grounds Publishing, whatever. But if you're my age, you're from the 50s. I mean, you're in your 50s, and I'm telling you that you can buy, for $100, you could buy a 1990, 92, 91 NBA Hoops box sealed, and you could chase, Michael Jordan and whoever else, whatever, versus this, which we know is going to be printed to the moon, and you probably won't be pulling anything valuable. Yeah, I do both, by the way. I have a huge collection of junk wax now I've been building up. I'm going to probably write a volume 4 sports card book about that experience. But the truth is, like, most people out there, if you're in a small town and you only have one Walmart and you didn't get your boxes, and you don't want to overpay and pay $90 a blaster box for this stuff, then just go on eBay and go buy some 92 Tops and spend $100 and you'll have a field day. You'll have so much fun. And by the way, a lot of those cards might actually surprise you and be worth a lot. You have to probably get them graded because it seems like a lot of these, anything that's like, not neo-modern has to be graded to people know it's real. It's not a fake. There's a lot of fakes out there. Like Griffey's got a lot of fakes, whatever. So yeah, you gotta probably get a PSA at some point or graded somewhere. But you might find that when I rip that box of USA Baseball, that a few of the ones that Gem mint might be worth a lot of money, and it was fun to rip, and it cost a lot less than what we're spending on all this modern stuff. So it's just a food for thought. If you're my age and if you're young, you don't really give a crap about Dominic Wilkins probably. So you want to rip the young stuff so you can pull a Wemby, right? So and I understand. Anyway, speaking of Team USA, this is a complete statistics. Dominic Wilkins. He's been the MVP of the league in my franchise so far, if I'm being honest. This I've had my PVC for a long time because I have a chapter in my first book, Sports Cards Volume 1, called The Set Builder, and I started building the 86 Flair set, and I've continued to work on it, and there will be a chapter in the Card Life about it, and I'll explain my journey, how far I've come, and a couple of surprises about that chapter to come. But yeah, this is a legendary card. This is his rookie card, and again, this I don't know. Is that side a little smaller? I was gonna say no. It's not a 10. It's not a 10. And then this was the first one that came in the mail. Tree Rollins. This guy was one of the best defensive players of all time. He was 7'1". He was 7'1" at a time when there weren't that many 7-footers. But when I play with him, he does pick and roll with Dominic Wilkins, and they are freaking awesome. And sometimes his picture's so perfect that Dominic can get around with his speed and he can get close to the hoop and do a little layup or a sick little move or dunk. But a lot of times he'll roll off the pick and he'll get open, and I just got to pass it to him. And it's like, even though I don't ever have him dunk it. I probably have to pull the R trigger down to do that. He shoots like 85% from the field. He's been awesome. So I will definitely be collecting more Tree Rollins cards. He actually was one of my favorite players as a kid growing up, just like Bill Walton, which is why when I started the franchise, I traded my whole roster over and my draft kit to build a starting five of players that I really would want, and I was able to pull that off. It was a lot of fun. All right, more packs to go. Here we go. All right, 19 in the chat. Thank you so much. Appreciate each and every one of you. Can't believe an hour's passed by already. That's wild. All right, Drake Powell, Jordan Poole, and that does look kind of photoshopped, honestly. But I like the basketball itself. But there's a crowd in the back. It's an interesting looking design there. There's Eamon Thompson with the Ray Wave. Interesting photography. There's no ball in the photo. He just made a pass behind the back of the defender, I guess. And I don't know what your thoughts are about having the veterans in these sets. I mean, I kind of like it. I think if fans care or not, I don't know, but it definitely is a chance to educate them about players from the past. But it's also a way probably for Topps to print more cards, because they can flood the set with more players and more parallels, and that's why it makes hitting stuff harder. But look, Topps and Panini have a hard job. It's a very fine line. Like they want to print as much as they can. They want to make as much money as they can, and they don't want to dilute their product. And they have to be careful. And that's why the numbered cards and the parallels have played a huge role. And having these special short prints, it's all big, and you got to make the product chase worthy, right? And if you print too much, and people just feel like they're wasting their money, they'll stop buying the product. So you got to find that very delicate balance. I think it's very hard to do. I think it's like a thankless job being being like Topps or Panini. It's hard to please the customers. Here's Rasheer Fleming, DeJounte Murray. Here's our first, maybe our first insert. This whole rip. We got Ace Bailey rookie card. Clutch C. What do you guys think of this insert? You like it? Thumbs up or down? I've never been a huge fan of the horizontal stuff. I think it's all right. And then Ivica Zubik. All right, so we only have one card that's made the gallery. It's a Ray Wade Wemby. Might only be worth like $5. So far we need to recognize that ripping packs is not the best financial thing to do with your money. I do it purely for entertainment and to please the basketball gods to help me write a great book. Cam Jones, Grayson Allen. Now this is a cool one. Clutch Gene insert. Dylan Harper, rookie. Like, I mean, look, the Spurs, you got to give their GM credit. I mean, yeah, they drafted Wemby, obviously, with a top first pick. But Stephen Castle, Dylan Harper, they've built a really good team around him, and they're young. And I think, yeah, even though I think it's crazy that Dylan Harper had a bounty on his card by Blez for $1 million, he definitely is a rising star, and he's gonna continue to be great. And he was terrific during the season and playoffs. He's great. Yeah, I guess that should go in the gallery. Yeah. I mean, I feel like the gallery should be like autos and number cards, but it's been such a tough sledding rip session so far that I think we have to bend the rules a little. I mean, he is probably the number 2 rookie, right? And it's a cool insert. I don't know if it's a short print or not. All right, last pack. I don't have a whole chapter on last pack Magic, although it probably deserves one. But I do write about last pack Magic in this series. It's Julius Randle. What do you think of those alternative Wolf jerseys with the pink trim? I think they're pretty sharp, actually. There's a red, white, and blue Kareem. The Kansas City Kings just played the Lakers 2 games ago in my franchise on NBA 2K, and they definitely were the toughest matchup that I have had. So far, my team's 5-1. I'm off to a good start. I'm only playing on semi-pro, by the way, because I'm not that great at basketball, so I'm still getting used to it. I have a philosophy that I'll play at the hardest level that I think is competitive. Then once I win a championship, I will upgrade the level, and I won't look back. So I won't play on semi-pro for long. Hopefully, I'll win the championship soon, and I'll go to the pro level or whatever. Anyway, yeah, Kareem didn't have a big game against us. James Worthy did, but Kareem looked his design looked awesome. He wore glasses and stuff, and it's amazing how cool the graphics are, how realistic they're beautiful. Kevin Durant, he's a legend. This guy's played for like 20 teams, but he's had a great career. He'll be on a new team again next year, I think. All right, quick break. All right, so let's do a mega box. It's interesting. All the megas that I bought came sealed, but that was the product that they specifically, at certain locations, were. Oh, I think even Topps mailed them. Like when people bought from the EQL and stuff like that, I think they mailed them also unwrapped. But the person who complained about packs missing, it wasn't from Topps or Fanatics. It was from a store, and that store had them unsealed. Yeah, that's not cool, man. You should not get screwed like that. If you buy a product, everything that is advertised should be there. I actually had it happen today. Check this out. Watch this. So I mentioned I've been buying junk wax boxes. By the way, I'm not exactly sure the angle that I haven't. I'm still in the early stages of that book. I'm just thinking about the book and collecting the boxes right now. How I write it and the direction of it philosophically and all that stuff, I'm not sure yet. But I have a couple ideas. But one of them is to do it as like an investment book, and we call it the junk wax comeback, because if you look at prices of PSA 10 of a lot of the 80s cards, like 84 Don Mattingly, 89 Upper Deck, Ken Griffey Jr., Nolan Ryan rookie card, Derek Jeter rookie card, they're starting to move in price. Now look, everything is. I mean, that's a sign of the market, topping out. But yet, the truth is that if you think about the people who grew up in that era, I went through my midlife crisis at 40, right? Like people who are 10 years behind me, they haven't had their midlife crisis yet, and you might get into yoga, you might buy a sports car, you might get this, you might get into sports cards. You might deal with your midlife crisis different ways, but I was an '80s kid, so the people who are 10 years after me, who are in the '40s now, they're gonna want to if some of those people do their midlife crisis adventure and get into sports cars, they're gonna crave the stuff from the '90s, from that junk wax era. So I think that this stuff is going to go up in price. So anyway, I'm not buying these boxes as an investment. I'm buying them to rip them and to do it online in these car life sessions and document the journey and the whole thing. But anyway, 87 tops. This has been one of the more popular junk wax sets because I guess of the rookie cards in them, and the prices of these have gotten higher. And I ripped one of these. I think it was in volume one, but our local card shop, they have one of these and it's like $65, and so I was like, oh, all right. And I saw one on eBay, and it was like false advertising. There were apparently other pictures, but the main picture, it was just like it didn't look. I didn't even notice if it was sealed or not. And when I got it today, what did I expect? I expected it would be filled with sealed packs. Like that's what I bought. I think I paid $55 plus shipping. So why, same it was the same amount of what I would have paid if I got it through my local store, right? And then I open it up today. Check this out. It's filled with all the cards. The seller had opened all the packs, and I don't even know if every card is in there because maybe there are some good hits. I don't even look. I'm so annoyed. I want you. You're not. I don't want your pack. I don't want your card. I want your packs because the purpose of the packs is to open them. It's for the experience of pack openings. So I reach out to the seller and I'm like, hey, bro. I'm like, you don't mind? I need a refund, and I'm even happy to mail these back to you at my own expense because I don't want these. It's not what it's not what I wanted. I wanted a box filled with packs, and he said no. He's like, no, it says non-refundable. I'm like, dude. I sell on eBay. If anyone ever complains about the quality of the product, they say it's bad or they say it didn't arrive, even though I just refund the money because you know what? It's not worth it because the customer's always right. Because if a customer is pissed off at you and they give you a bad rating, it really hurts your rating and it affects your potential sales. And so you just do the right thing, even if it means sometimes giving a refund when it's not unfair. I mailed 2 ETBs. Now, this is my fault because when I mailed out those Pokemon ETBs, I just took a picture and I didn't actually physically type in the tracking number. But when I mailed them at the post office, I mailed the picture and I even showed a picture of the tracking number, so the person had it. But then they can claim that it never arrived, and then if I didn't manually put it in, they can then get a refund. And 2 of the boxes, people said they didn't get them, but I just gave it a refund. What am I going to do? Is it worth arguing with these people? So anyway, this guy tried to argue with me, and I'm like, bro, I don't want to have to complain to eBay. I don't want to hurt your rating. I know what it's like. I don't want to have bad karma. I'm like, just refund the money. And I'll mail them back to you. But this is like worthless cards to me, man. And he didn't. And so finally he was like, well, if you feel, go deal with eBay. And so I contacted eBay. I took a screenshot of one of the early part of our conversation. And I said, please refund my money, and I'll find out what happens. But the point is, I don't even want the refund. I actually want the packs. I want the cards. I want to open the packs from 87 tops. And if you notice, my point is, prices are rising and they're getting scarce. And so here you have the junk wax era, where they printed the shit out of this stuff and it became so worthless that it bankrupted a bunch of those companies. But here we are now, all these decades later, and the people from that generation who are kids who lived and ripped packs as kids, now they're going to want them again in like a few years. And these will be scarce and I think more and more expensive. And I think the ones who are buying them now could make really good money. So I know Gary Vee's buying like Jackie Robinson rookies, but like I can't afford to do that. But I can afford to go small and do stuff that I love anyway. And so I've been building a huge collection of junk wax, and now I have this worthless box of shit that hopefully I'll get rid of. So anyway, I digress. All right. So a lot of the YouTubers that I follow, they're so hardcore on the ripping that they know that like the hobby has this guaranteed. It doesn't have that. The blaster has this. The mega has that. So I don't know all that stuff. I haven't read the back of the thing. I do know this. They are designed differently, and so the stuff that you get in a mega can be different than what you can get in a blaster or value or a high box. So far, we have not pulled any number cards, no autos, no patches for sure. Um, it's been a total bust. In fact, I've done over 1,000 pack openings before I created the Chronicles platform, and I'd say that if you watch them all, 85% of those pack openings were busts, right? That's the nature of this hobby, you know. People enjoy this hobby in lots of different ways. You know, not everyone's a pack rat. I'm a pack rat. I'm like a Matt Strom disciple. I love ripping wax. I also love collecting and building sets too. But I'm not a big investor. But I do have cards that are worth it. Like I have stuff that that I'm, George Brett rookie, Ricky Henderson rookie, stuff like that. But like I don't deal with these. Like I watch on the national. You have people who are dealing these $20,000 cards back and forth like it's no big deal. That's not my deal at all. I don't enjoy that. I'm happy to collect cards from a video game that I play for $1. You know what I'm saying? But there's no right or wrong way to enjoy this hobby. In fact, I think every way to enjoy it is the right way that works for you, because you should enjoy your life and enjoy your hobbies the way you want to. The fact that you have a hobby you're passionate about is awesome. And I think this is one of the best hobbies there is. And you can do this hobby by yourself, but it's even better when you do it with others. And I'll be at the National next year, by the way, so I'm super excited to hang out with a bunch of you guys and share the hobby with all of you. There's Yannick. D'Angelo Russell. Here's a cool insert. Jalen Green, Stratospheric Stars. And then this is our first X-Fractor. And then we got a Ray Wave. So that pack had some spunk, but not any of the big names. Now it hasn't been proven tonight. I do have this chapter idea. I've already written a rough draft for it. I don't know if it will be appropriate to put in the card life. Maybe I don't know what to do with it. It's called the Superstar Density Theory. All right, so let me explain it to you, and you'll tell me if this is right. For people that are ripping this product, for example, they're ripping it not because they are a nerd like me and are writing a book about basketball. They're chasing the hits. They want to pull Cooper Flag. They want to get rich, right? It's like it's like Willy Wonka. Hold on. Yeah. Sometimes I lose my train of thought, and I realize what the universe is saying. Get back to the packs. This is the pack opening session. Less talking, Fink, and more pack ripping. Agent Martin, Jarrett Allen, Jeremiah Fears. He was one of the top 10 rookies last year for sure, I'd say. Here's Dort with the X-Fractor. There's the great Bill Russell with the Ray Wave, and Yang Hengson. So I did the first iteration of the Lost franchise. I did a version with the modern day players, and Yang Hengson was my first round draft pick from the expansion draft. And he was pretty good in the game. I liked him actually. He was good, 7'1", little slow, but he could do a pick and roll, get the layup going. Still no new Cooper Flag. Still no Steph Curry. Still no LeBron. Jalen Johnson. We've pulled Magic twice, however. Shout out to Magic. Damian Lillard. There's an X-Fractor. Norman Powell. And then Josh Hart. We've pulled that before, too. Oh, that's a bust pack. So, yeah, so these jerseys, let's see. I got this Kansas City Kings jersey on eBay. I bought a Kansas State jersey at Dick's Sporting Good yesterday. It's purple. It's really sweet. I bought a Patrick Ewing New York Knicks jersey on eBay. That arrived this week. It's good. Also a kid's extra large. I bought the first jersey I bought was a KU jersey. It's like one of their alternative gray jerseys. So I think I already have five jerseys. So I'm definitely like well attired to be editing this book for the next few weeks. There's Dirk, Zubak, Quentin Grimes, Igor Demon, Extractor, Dort, Drake Powell, another bus pack. You know what? I think a lot of times when you watch other people rip packs, it's a relief because we know that unless they're rigged packs, because like some like A-list, YouTube celebrity who's got to deal with fanatics is ripping the packs, and there's like wild, crazy hits. When you watch other people rip packs and their majority of them are busts, it's kind of like, phew. I'm glad I didn't waste my money on that shit, Because today so far, it's been nothing close to profitable. But I'm actually still having fun, and I hope you are too. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. I hope this is entertaining like television. The truth is, Bruce Springsteen once had a song called 57 Channels and Nothing On. The idea is that, the cable networks have so many channels, but it's mostly crappy stuff on TV or shows that are reruns or shows that don't interest you. And if you love sports cards, there's no sports card show unless you catch the Card Life randomly at 3 a.m. And I was on that show, by the way, so shout out to Brandon Versel and that. But now we have access because we now have YouTube and we have Buzzer and Twitch. And there are ways to get content that's in video form or podcast audio form about the things that you love. And when you get to enjoy things you love, that makes your day great, and your life great. And so I consume a lot of hobby content, and because I just love it. And when I'm in the car driving someplace, it might be music, it might be a podcast or an interview, and so this content is mobile, where your TV is just stuck at your house. And by the way, the content continues to get better. Like for example, Jeff Wilson, he's controversial, he's kind of polarizing. You love him or you hate him, but you got to give him credit for the fact that he started in his basement with his phone, and now he's got a studio. And even when he travels, he's got big production, and it shows. It's well done, high quality stuff. And so like the sports card hobby has become legit. And by the way, the same way that Barstool, right, has become a huge network that's worth millions. There's a podcast network out there that's going to become the next Barstool because people love content of the things that they want to consume, and the sports card market is still in its infancy. I read about this in my first book. When Jeff Wilson started doing his stuff, there was no one doing hobby stuff. It was not cool. The hobby wasn't cool. Now we have guys like Logan Paul who love sports cards. The hobby's finally becoming cool, and the hobby is starting to grow in lots of different ways. More women and girls are joining the hobby. Here's Con Canapel, another clutch gene. He was the number 2 rookie chase this year. There's an X-Fractor with Cameron Johnson. Back-to-back X-Fractors with Kawani Leonard and then Jordan Poole. We'll give Con Canapel some glass. So when I do my Card Life Chronicles, the idea was that I'm ripping all these packs because I want to have material. I've done a couple of trade shows so far. I did one in Lawrence, Kansas during the summer, and one in Olathe. And I did them to primarily sell my books. But I wanted to have some card stuff there. I had some junk wax packs to open for like $1 each and whatever. And it was a lot of fun. But I thought the next time I do a trade show, I want to be better prepared, and I want to have all the products reflect the books that I sell. And I'm not looking to, like I said, I'm not looking to be a PSA guy where I'm buying at 70 and I'm selling at 110 or whatever. Like I'm there to really sell books and be a part of the community that helps contribute to the fun. So I want to have, so when I rip these cards, for example, and a lot of them are worthless, I'm going to put them in sleeves and put them in a top loader, and I'm going to have a bin of free cards for kids, up to 4 per kid. And it's just a way of me giving good karma, passing cards out, good karma to the kids. The cards that are the inserts, like the couple of these that might be worth only $1 or $2, I'll put them in the dollar bin. And so it's just a way for me to kind of have a booth then that's going to be lively because people are going to want to come around it. Kids will want the free cards. People are going to want to flip through the dollar cards. And they can ask about my books. They also can buy the junk wax. And so that was what my idea was. Is I wanted to have stuff. So it's an excuse for me to keep ripping wax and an excuse to keep writing stories about the cards that I get to rip and turn that into kind of a narrative, fictional diary thing. But it was also because the mission really initially was because I wanted to have more stuff at my shops in my shows. And yeah, I can go buy singles at the card shops, but it's more fun to rip it yourself. And then this way, every time I sell a card, it's like, you know, it's more enjoyable because that card I pulled, it's meaningful to me, you know. So anyway, um, did we already look at these? Yeah. So yeah, it's wild. We haven't pulled any. I mean, I would have thought that a blaster box would have guaranteed at least one numbered card per box. But we got two more to go in this mega box. There's the Joker. I mean, he's reinvented the center position, right? I mean, he triple doubles almost every game. He can lead the league in assists. He's amazing. He can shoot the three. All right. Well, I spoke too soon, I guess. And maybe I didn't want to jinx myself, so it's all good. But here's a DeJounte Murray yellow Ray Wave out of 275. And I'm just going to say that it's just a beautiful card. The yellow makes the Ray Wave look way cooler than the regular Ray Wave. But this was the kind of card that we deserved, right? It's not a huge hit. It's not a huge name. It's not a low numbered card, but it is distinct. It's awesome, and I love how the numbered cards, not just numbered, they're always got a parallel to them that makes them really, you know, different and awesome. So yeah, this will be glass. Back-to-back X-Fractors, and then a Rasheer Fleming rookie card. All right, I feel better that, you know, I guess in a way, though, the Mega Box only had one numbered card. We got one pack to go, so we'll see. But the first two blasters we did were like nothing. We got one Wemby Ray Wave, and then we've pulled these two clutch Gene inserts, but two of the top three rookies, which I guess is pretty good. All right, back to business. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, these Card Life Chronicle sessions are spontaneous. I don't plan them ahead of time, and I like them like that way. But it's wild. We got 22 people tonight. I'm thrilled. But that's like what I thought would be the norm, honestly, when I did most of these. You know, because like they're unannounced. But I did this one with V Friends the other night, and I kept going because there was so many people kept joining, and I wasn't sure if it was because it was V Friends. You know, I mean, how could Topps Chrome not be more popular? But you know what? Maybe that's the point. Is that V Friends is rare that someone does a rip session for V Friends, and there are thousands of people all over Twitch and TikTok who are ripping this stuff tonight. So maybe that wasn't a great idea marketing wise for me to rip the same stuff. Although I thought that maybe that would actually be good because people wouldn't be able to get enough of this stuff, and the late night session where people can watch some cards get ripped. There's Paolo Balcero. How many points did he put up in one game? Was it like 58? Rob Dillingham. Jarrett Allen, power players. Bradley Beasley with the X Factor. Jaylen Brown, now a 76er with the X Factor. And DeJounte Murray, where I just his base. All right. So how you guys doing in the chat? Should we keep going? You guys want to keep going? We've been going for an hour and a half. It's 1:23 a.m. here in the Midwest, so 2:23 on the East Coast. If you are all still with me and awake, I thank you. If you were watching me while you were in bed and you fell asleep, then you're welcome. I'm honored that I was able to be boring enough to put you to sleep. No, I'm just kidding. The truth is people go to sleep more easily when they're relaxed and happy, and therefore putting headphones on or putting on something that you love, which concludes having someone talk about sports cards, is a great way to fall asleep. So I'm all for it. I'm not insulted if, in fact, when I had 600 people watching and it was like 3 a.m, I'm like, I wonder how many of you are actually really watching. when I know when there's only 22 people, I know that there's only 22 people. That's a very realistic number for someone like me. I'm still a brand new YouTuber and social media personality. Like I said, I spent 10 years writing books. I didn't spend any time trying to market or sell them. And now I realize, when Paulie asked me to do the podcast, I'm like, you know what? That's the universe telling me it's time. It's time to kind of create awareness for all the great works you've done. If people don't know about your books, they're not going to read your books. And it's sort of like if a tree falls in the forest, did anyone hear it? Well, it'd be a shame if I wrote all these books that I care so much about, I'm so proud of. If no one ever got to read them because they weren't aware of them, then that would be that. It wouldn't be pointless. The point was I wrote these books for my own satisfaction and pleasure, but I do find that people who do read my books really enjoy them, and then I'm like, you know what? Then more people should know about my books, and so that's why I've, decided to become more active in this stuff. Okay, here's the next box that is unsealed. The truth is I'm doing this live, but people will be able to watch this on replay anytime, anywhere. And so I'm well aware that, I'm grateful for the 23 people that will be tonight, but, hundreds or thousands could watch this, tomorrow. You just don't know. You don't know what video will go viral. I'm always kind of amazed on my TikTok. I now have like 3,000, almost 4,000 followers, and a lot of my stuff is the same stuff, promoting my podcast and my video game stuff and whatever. But then I'll record something kind of random, and that will go like 10,000 views. It goes crazy viral. It's just wild how like your non-usual stuff can become more popular than the stuff that you think should be your bread and butter, whatever. Andrew Wiggins, the red, white, and blue, and then SGA with the bass. I had Levi Dombrowski. He's a member of the Top Shot community, huge Oklahoma City fan. He was on my show Rip Sessions last episode on Tuesday night, and that's gotten a lot of views on the replay. It's actually my most watched video now, so I definitely understand that when I go live and it's spontaneous, not everyone will join me, but people will find this video down the road. So if you're finding this video a week from now or a month or a year from now, dude, thank you so much. I appreciate you, man. You're awesome. Cade Cunningham, Shaden Sharp, Josh Giddey with the red, white, and blue, and Jaden McDaniels. I mean, check this out. These are all the cards so far that we've pulled tonight that I consider to be busts. And these are all the cards that I consider to be worthy of being featured in the gallery. There's only 4 of them. Hold on. This is 10 cards. Let's try again. 1, 2. This is 20 cards. So we've definitely ripped over 100 cards, and 4% of them were worth more than $1. I'm not even sure if a base card of Nick Claxton is even worth $1. It's probably not, actually, even though the average price per card, do the math, is like $2 per card. You're paying $45 for a value box for getting 27 cards. This will go in my shoebox, and an entire shoebox, if it was just filled with chrome at the baseball card store at Overland Park, I'll get $20 for it. Usually, if it's half chrome, half paper cards, I'll get $10 for it. Now, look, that's better than nothing, and a lot of card shops will not even do that trade for you. Baseball card shop is awesome because they help your hobby addiction by doing trades and keeping the flow going. If you want to give it back and give it to you in store credit, but just understand the math. Look how many cards we've opened, and yeah, there's a Ray Wave out of 275, but it's DeJounte Murray. I don't know. It can't be worth more than $15, $20, right? Probably like $10 card, I'm guessing. Kwani Leonard, Cameron Johnson. Draymond Green, he's a real character, right? Derek Lively II. This is our first moment in time. And we got Jeremiah Fears, the rookie, making a nice move to the hoop. And then our first Devin Booker. We'll give that insert some glass. So one number card so far. Still looking for our first auto. Now, the prices in the secondary market have not moved very much today. I've been checking them all day. I'm curious. I'm guessing if the Cooper flag gets pulled, prices would go down. I think if we go a week and he has not gotten pulled, prices could go up dramatically. We'll see. Someone can pull the card and not tell anyone. It might not be public. There's a Wemby base. PJ Washington. Jason Tatum with the Stratospheric Stars. And Aaron Nesmith. Black cherry soda. I think growing up on Long Island, where you get like Dr. Brown's black cherry soda at all the New York delis, that's how I discovered black cherry. And I've never lost the love for the taste. I still love it. Jaren Jackson Jr., Andrew Wiggins. Okay, here we go. Cedric Coward out of 275, yellow. Now it's wild because now you can see how this is yellow with the Ray Wave for 275. So all the yellows are 275. But that also means there could be an extractor out of 275, and then all the different parallels could be numbered to 275. So, but this is still a win. I mentioned earlier that Cedric Coward was one of the two NBA stars that went to the NBA Top Shot event in the Summer League and hung out with the fans and stuff like that. And so that's pretty cool. Last card was Sabonis. If you've been ripping Topps Chrome basketball today and got any big hits, leave a comment in the section below. I'm curious to know. You got a favorite team? I'm curious to know where you're from and who your favorite team is. Drop a comment in the chat below. Say hello. Let's foster some community. There's James Hardy. That's a bus pack. Sometimes there's just nothing to say. All right, that was the end of that box. I guess that one did deliver one numbered card. So that seems fair. Let's do another one. I don't use the old. I just use a scissor. Yeah, only 32 NBA teams. I feel like a lot of these leagues are like oligopolies. There should be many more teams. many more cities can support these teams, I think, and I think that would grow the game. So, I wish Kansas City had a team. St. Louis should have a team. Omaha should have a team. San Diego should have a team. Austin, Texas should have a team. It's Aaron Wiggins, Pascal Siakam, Rick Barry, Carmelo Anthony. Who else should have a team? Seattle, Las Vegas. Yikes! Bus City. Yeah, I mean Las Vegas. I just spent the weekend there. What a fun town. It's crazy, especially when it's like 110 degrees and it just fun. People were like the Friday night Los Angeles Aviators game, 110 degrees, and the place is packed. People just don't care. They're so used to the heat. They're used to the dry heat, whatever. But I've not been to Vegas in like many years, and yeah, it's just can't stay there too long. It can get dangerous, but it's what a fun town. So much to do. Tobias Harris, Jalen Brown, Nikola Vucevic, Micah Peavy. Still have not pulled a Cooper flag of any kind. It's coming. Gotta be optimistic in card openings and in life. Pessimism will get you nowhere. Mike Conley, Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo with the power players, and Stephen Castle with the cool photography alert. Anton, Dyson Daniels. Oh, this is cool. Here's a moment in time for VJ Edgecombe, one of the top rookies. This is for his NBA debut. And then Noah Penda. Like, these moments in time, they're obviously rare because we haven't pulled them very often. We've only pulled 2 out of tons of packs, but I'm not so sure if he's going to be worth more than like $5 in the open market. We'll have to wait and see. Colin Murray Boyles, Andrew Nebard, Najee Marshall with the red, white, and blue, Michael Porter Jr. All right, last pack magic for this blaster. Walter Clayton Jr., Anthony Simmons. How do you pronounce that? Matas Buzelis and Joan Behringer. Now, there is something to be said for this. In my PC of like vintage cards, I collect a lot of like old school stuff, and I could be a PSA 1. I don't care. I just want like all the old team, like the St. Louis Browns, the stuff that I don't exist anymore. But there are certain players that are kind of in like my pantheon of like my Hall of Fame, and Sandy Koufax and Jackie Robinson are 2 of those guys, and I have pulled their cards in the same pack of like Topps, modern, the modern cards, whatever, like retro, whatever. But I didn't have any like PSA real old vintage cards, and so I recently did buy a 1961 Sandy Koufax, right? And it was not cheap. It was a lot of money, and I hope it's good value. I probably bought it at the top of the market. If this is the top, we'll see. But it's PC. My son played for the Dodgers. He'll love the card. He loves Sandy. So we're going to keep it anyway. I don't care about the price. In fact, I'll just say this. A PSA 8 I saw today, which the Jordan Neal at the baseball card store, he bought bought some stuff from customers at the National, brought it back. A PSA 8 was going for $1,300. My card, I think, is worth $500. Big difference between the 7 and the 8, I guess, or maybe the 7 undervalued. Who knows? Doesn't matter. I'm going to keep it. But the point is this: it was around $500, and I had traded in some Pokemon stuff for it, so I didn't come out of pocket for it. But it was, when you trade it in, it's value, it's money. It is what it is. It's fungible. So yeah. So like, let's do a blast. Oh no, let's do it. Yeah. So I still want to buy a Jackie Robinson card, and I've done a search for like Jackie Robinson PSA 1s, and like they go for like $500. And the truth is, when you add all up the money that I spent, it'd probably be around, I think 300 or 400. But I was like, 75% towards that Jackie card. I could have just bought it, and I'd have it forever, and I'd enjoy it forever, and I'd look at it every day in my office, as opposed to ripping all this wax and then getting, no offense to Michael Rubin, but mostly junk, because that's what happens when you rip wax. So again, you do this stuff because it's fun and it's entertainment. But if you're doing cards from an investment perspective, it is not a good investment to rip wax. It's a great idea if it's entertainment, and the same way that people go to dinner on a Friday night, or they go to a bar, they buy a bunch of drinks, or they go to a concert. And I went to Jesse Wells. That's a $50 concert ticket. I could have bought a blaster box of this. So how you spend your money is up to you. There's no right or wrong way to spend your money. And frankly, a lot of spending money is about the memories. And do people remember when they pulled the biggest card of their life? Will they remember that forever? Yeah, they probably will. So I think people should be responsible with their money. People should only spend money they can afford to spend. But once people have done their budget and they know how much money they can afford to spend on entertainment, well, however they spend it then at that point is up to them. Whether they go to the casino, whether they go buy cards, or they do fancy sports, and they do FanDuel. They spend the money on flowers for their girlfriend and take her out for dinner. However you spend your money is up to you. But I just say be responsible and only spend money you can afford to spend. And nothing wrong with trying to chase a card. Chase cards is a big part of the hobby. It's fun, but and be optimistic, but just be realistic with your expectations, right? That's all I'd say. Because 85% of packs, in my experience, are busts. We finally pulled the Steph Curry, even though it's just his base. It's good to see him, though. He's definitely changed the game, has he not? Herbert Jones. Good to see this guy. We finally pulled our first Cooper flag. This is his rookie card with the moment in time. I don't know how much this is going for. Maybe someone in the chat could find out for me. It says, in the first quarter of a game against the 76ers on January 1st, 2026, Cooper stole a pass near midcourt, darted the other way, and threw down a two-handed slam. Okay. Starting to get tired, guys. Just might need to take a break and refuel. We're up to 28 people. I forget when the VFriends chat, it stayed low for like the first hour or two, and then like it would jump from like 100 to 500, then from 500 to to 600. So if we stick around long enough, this chat could continue to grow. And like last night, when the crowd got bigger, I didn't want to stop. I wanted to kind of like give the people what they wanted. I wanted to deliver for you guys. And by the way, I do have a decent amount of VFriends still in my stash, enough for another rip session at some point down the road. Now this is a cool one because it's a horizontal extractor for Al Horford. I haven't seen that before. So you go Gonzalez extractor, and then Eamon Thompson base. So we do have a card show in Kansas City this weekend, Lee Summit, one of the better ones. I'm really excited for that. I'll be going. I'll spend most of my weekend editing the Basketball Gods Are Real and creating content. There's Giannis. Hachimura. Excuse me, I'm getting tired. Jaden Hardy. Micah Peavy. LaMelo Ball. And Lou Alcindor, also known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He converted to Muslim, in case you don't know. That's how he changed his name. Or converted to Islam. He's now a Muslim. That's how you should say it. All right, next pack. Yeah, so I had this funny thing happen during that 3-hour VFriends rip session. I had gone 2 hours. My back was starting to hurt. I hadn't moved. I hadn't gone to the bathroom. I hadn't refilled my drink. And I was like, all right, guys, there's 684 people watching. I'm going to take a 10-minute break. If I get back here and there's more than 400 of you still watching, well, I'll go for another hour. And if there's 0 people because everyone left, because I left, then I'll go to sleep. And I came back and there were not 864 people. There were actually 867 people. There was 3 extra people who showed up. There were more people. That was amazing. That was crazy. And then at one point I was like, all right, who's here is sleeping? Maybe this is all bots. And then someone would type in, I'm here having fun. I'm like, dude, let's go. So, I guess it wasn't bots. Tyrese Maxey. We're pulling a lot of Bill Russell today, right? I wonder how many legends are in this set. Miles Turner. It's just a cool looking card. Stephen Castle with the X Factor. We're pulling a lot of Rick Barry too with the X Factor. And then Trey Murray. So I probably should have kept track. Let's see, hold on. So far we have ripped 2 Megas, 3 Blasters. So for those keeping score at home, oh, sorry, we have more to go in this last Blaster. But so far we've only pulled 2 numbered cards. We've got 2 Clutch Gene inserts, and we've pulled 3 Moment in Time rookie cards. But one of them did include Cooper Flag. Wow, it's totally a Photoshop card. If you look closely, it looks like he's being beamed up to space by an alien. It's weird. And they all have that. It's kind of weird. Yeah, so I'm grateful for every viewer, and I'm still kind of new to the YouTube game, so I still kind of get giddy when every time we add a viewer. So now we're at 30 viewers. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you. I hope you're having fun. Here's Rudy Gobert. I mean, I don't know about you, but how excited are you guys for next season for basketball? I think next season is going to be so good. So many trades this offseason, so many surprises. And then now you have LeBron in Philadelphia, which I think will be great. I think there'll be a lot of parity this year. It's going to be a really great season of basketball. And we better enjoy it because you know what? If you've been following Major League Baseball and the collective bargaining agreement, which ends this year, the two sides, the players' union and the owners, are so far apart. I think there is using percentages, I'll use 85% chance of a lockout because I think that the salary cap is the hill that the players will die on. And the owners will say, this is the last league who doesn't have a cap. We need it for parity. Look at the Dodgers. You got to stop the Dodgers. And the players are going to say, you know what? No, we're not going to just cap our salary and let you guys get richer and richer. We want a part of that action. We're the product, actually. And they have a good point. And so I think that there's no other way around it. They'll do a lockout. And what I'm hoping is that when that lockout negotiation begins, they solve all the other problems in baseball, like deferred payment. Like how does the Dodgers have a $1.1 billion deferred salary situation? How do we reconcile the fact that the Dodgers have a specific special media rights deal that extends from after their bankruptcy in the reconciliation deal they had with Major League Baseball? So there's a reason why the Dodgers have a slight advantage right now. So we should work on that. By the way, just because they have an advantage, no guarantee they're going to win anything. They lost to Diamondbacks 2 years ago. They won the World Series based on a play at home plate. They almost lost. They've lost 7 in a row. They've lost 2 series in a row. Just got swept by the Cubs. So what? They got Tariq Skubal. Doesn't mean anything. In fact, now they'll be more fun to root against because they're the new evil empire. They're like what the Yankees used to be during the George Steinbrenner years when they signed A-Rod and David Cohen, all those big name players. Anyway, here's a stratospheric star, Damian Lillard, Drew Holiday, X-Factor, Caleb Love, rookie, Ray Wave, and then Trey Johnson, base, rookie. All right, 3 packs to go. So these high boxes were going for $1,000. They retail for $500. That's just insane. I am happy that Topps is honoring the fact that their flagship products, like their base paper sets, should be like mass produced and therefore should not be expensive. And they're launching flagship football with Evan Mendoza on the cover, the QB from Indiana, who's now playing for the Raiders. And I think that high box is going to cost, I think, like $120, which I think is, given the current hobby, is actually quite reasonable. I still remember when high boxes were like $60 for baseball and whatever, but that's what I think is the going rate for now and for football. And given its flagship and all that, I think that's actually probably a dare I say, a good value. I guess compared to $1,000, it is. Josh Hart, you pulled this like 3 times. Drake Powell, Carter Bryant, X-Factor, Ben Seraph with the Ray Wave. He was on my team during Lost Franchises 1.0, and he was pretty good. He could dribble, he could get to the hoop, and he can shoot threes. He was good. And then Miles Turner. I love when video games are made really well. The players look and feel, even through the controller, how they should play in real life. And I feel like NBA 2K does a really good job of that. The players really do look and feel and play like they should. I think it's a great game. It's very well done. I really enjoyed playing NBA 2K. Out of all the video games over the years, basketball is the least sport I've played, although I did go hardcore when we used to have the NCAA basketball game on like the old Xbox Live. I played that a ton for sure. And I've also played a lot of college football as well. And even though I definitely played a lot of Madden over the years, in recent years I only play the college football game because I think it's just a better model. I love college football, and that's probably why I wrote Spirits of the Gridiron, because I didn't like the conference realignment problem situation, and I didn't like what's happened with the transfer portal. The NIL I kind of do like a little bit. In fact, on it, sports cards can do college sports cards now with authentic licensed logos because of NIL. So I think NIL is kind of cool, but generally speaking, I feel like college football is kind of losing its soul, and that's why I wrote Spirits of the Gridiron, because I wanted to kind of write a book about how college football can get their soul back. Here's Jordan Poole, Rasheer Fleming. We've pulled him a bunch. There's Murray again. There's Noah Penda, Mari Williams, and Jakunis. So I do like that the megas are 6 cards per pack instead of 4. It feels much more satisfying. That's probably the proper word. Yeah, so I was never really great at math, but I'm really good at like investing and understanding trends and all that stuff. And I appreciate percentages and how prop stat works. And like just so to go from 30 to 33 people, that's a 10% move. That's awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you for the 30 people who joined tonight. Thank you for hanging out with me and all of us, and everyone who's in the chat. Just appreciate you guys hanging out and enjoying seeing what cards come out of these packs together. Here's Cam Jones, rookie card. Straight up Photoshop there. There's Grayson Allen. We got Brooks. Michael Porter Jr. with the X-Factor. Thomas Sorber, and Jalen Green. So only 6 cards, but it was a bust is a bust. And that is that. All right, so we're just past the 2-hour mark, and I feel like that's enough for today. I do have a few boxes left over, and I'll probably go to Dick's tomorrow and see if there's any left. And if they do, I'll probably pick up 2 of each again, and then I'll have enough kind of ammunition, if you will, to do another rip session, at least for 30 minutes for an hour. But I'm actually getting pretty tired. It's 2 a.m. here in KC, 3 a.m. in New York. But I am grateful for each and every one of you 33 people. And even though my last rip session with V-Friends got to over 800 people with 3 hours, I was shocked by that. If I had 33 people that episode, I would have been just as grateful as the 600. So I thank each and every one of you. Thank you so much for enjoying these cards with me. I'm sorry we didn't pull a patch auto, but again, that wasn't what I was looking to do tonight. I was looking to really just enjoy this hobby with you. As you know, I've been playing the Lost franchises on NBA 2K, so check that series out. I post on YouTube. I post links and updates on Twitter. So so follow that stuff. And even though I appreciate the $1 cards, we'll try to chase some rookie patch autos again sometime maybe later this week. So you guys take care, and like I always say, God bless.